Pray I speak to you this morning in the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. I was watching a hockey game this past week on TV, and as I was watching it, I had a flashback to my days in house league hockey when I was about 7, 8, 9 years old, around that time. I played left wing in hockey until the one day I showed up at the arena and found out that our goalie was sick, and the coach said, "Henderson, you're playing net." Now, I never played goalie in my life. I was joking, the only thing I'd ever saved up to that point was my Halloween candy. Didn't go over any clearly. But anyway, I remember trying to get the equipment on, because I never worked for, I didn't know what I was doing, and I had the big helmet that was kind of hanging down to here, and all the pads, and I was trying to put the pads around my legs. And so I skated out and I got in the net, and what I remember specifically was at one point looking down the ice and seeing the play at the other end of the ice. And so I thought, well, I got a couple of minutes to loosen up, so I started to skate a little bit back and forth in the net, and I kind of went back into it. And what happened was one of the straps that you strap your leg on with the pad got caught in the netting. So my leg got stuck. All I could think to do was shake it. So I started shaking my right leg, and another strap got caught. So I fought, and kind of tried to go this way, and my left leg went out, and the tip of my skate got caught in the back of the net. So if you can picture this 8-year-old kid doing, the splits on the ice, with his helmet down to here, unable to move, and all I remember was kind of looking up a bit and seeing all the players coming down the ice. I was stuck. I thought all I could do at that moment was to just close my eyes, and I think that was the first time I ever really prayed. The first time. And if you have a picture of that in your mind, of that kind of mess, I think that's where we need to start with today's reading today. Because most of us know what it's like to get caught up in a mess. Somewhere along the way, we make a mistake. And then rather than calmly analyzing the situation and thinking our way through it and trying to find the best course of action and correcting it, we react impulsively. Soon our lives are like that kid trapped in the hockey nets. The more we struggle, the more entangled we become, until eventually we're totally immobilized. Psychologically, often. Emotionally, spiritually. And we've all been to that point where all we can do is close our eyes and just wait and wait. And perhaps Zacchaeus was in such a state when he, in that moment, decided to seek out Jesus. Most of us have heard this story so often here in church, and maybe in Sunday school. You remember cutting out pieces of felt and putting Zacchaeus on the tree. We fail to see the absurdity of this scene, because Zacchaeus was a wealthy chief tax collector, and he was climbing a tree. People would have known him. He wasn't just another person in the street. Zacchaeus had some clout in the community. And if you're not sure why someone with that stature would want to climb up into a tree, go to the Christmas parade this year downtown and see where all the kids are. I always get a laugh watching them, because they're on parents' shoulders, or they're climbing up street posts, or lamp posts, or whatever it is, just to get a glimpse of, who's coming to the end of the parade. They got to see. So they're scrambling to get up and see and get a glimpse. And wouldn't that be a sight? Can you imagine one of our prominent city officials up in the tree during the parade? What's Mayor Dilkins doing up on the lamppost, waiting for Santa? It just wouldn't fit us. Yet when Zacchaeus heard Jesus was coming down the street, his first reaction was to get a glimpse. He wasn't thinking about the danger, like little Gracie was this morning, so apropos. He wasn't thinking that it might be dangerous up there. He wasn't thinking what people might think about him or what effect it would have in his standing in the community. Zacchaeus knew that Jesus was near and he had to see him. Something in that moment must have needed to change. Something must have been gnawing at him. That the money, the position of power that he had, perhaps he had abused it somehow. Perhaps in that moment he realized that his life was not on the track it needed to be. But everything he had just could not satisfy him. Maybe this teacher from Nazareth that he had heard so much about could somehow untangle his life for him. But nevertheless, Zacchaeus could not have been prepared for what happened next. Somehow Jesus had spotted Zacchaeus in the tree. Which is an amazing thing when we really think about it, because in amongst all the people, and all the crowds, and all the dust that would have been flying up, and up in the branches, and in the middle of the leaves, and the fact that Jesus' eyes would have been here. Yet, when Jesus came to the place, Luke says, he looked and said, "Zacchaeus, hurry, come down. I must stay at your house today." To be seen, to be noticed in a crowd, to actually be looked for. You know, if we're not convinced that having that experience can be life-changing, walk into the hospital room of a friend, focus on their eyes when you step in that door. And in that millisecond, they know that they have not been forgotten. Crouch down to a lost child at the mall at Christmas. Watch their tears flow when you say, "We're going to find your mom." See a newcomer in church sitting alone. See their body release all the fear and anxiety and nervousness when you slide in and say, "I'm glad you're here." Glad you're here. Jesus was as eager to see Zacchaeus as Zacchaeus was to see him. Even though Zacchaeus climbed the sycamore, it was Jesus who called out to him. Luke tells us that Zacchaeus did not come down immediately, that he did come down immediately and received Jesus joyfully into his house. Somehow Zacchaeus knew that Jesus could set him free. Somehow he knew that this was exactly what he had been looking for. The effect of Jesus' presence on Zacchaeus was so profound that with an overflowing heart, he stood following their meal together and said, "Look, I'm giving half of everything I have away, and if I've cheated anyone, I'm going to pay it back." If there was any doubt about Zacchaeus' sincerity, Jesus erased it all by declaring salvation has come upon this house. Jesus' purpose for coming into this world was to save and seek out the lost. And this is the good news that we as the church have to give. And we can do that by starting with the knowledge that first and foremost salvation has come to our house. If you are feeling lost this morning, if your life is in a helpless tangle, if you feel powerless by doubts or fear or guilt, Jesus is looking for you today. You may have come to this place looking for him. But even more surely, he is here today and he is looking for you. Jesus was looking for Zacchaeus more diligently than Zacchaeus was looking for Jesus. And that says something about Jesus' purpose, but it also says something about Zacchaeus. Have you ever thought what a difference you could make for our families, our communities, our workplaces, our governments, if somehow Jesus could make the change he made in the life of Zacchaeus? You see, God sees an awesome potential for you. God sees an awesome potential for his world that perhaps we're not even aware of. Many of you perhaps have seen or know of the Broadway musical and movie My Fair Lady. It's a wonderful play about the brilliant young Professor Henry Higgins who transforms a humble flower girl named Eliza Doolittle into an elegant English lady. And in the midst of her transformation, Eliza falls in love with Henry. But he treats her only with disdain. And toward the end of the play, she expresses her complaint to their friend, the Colonel. And she says, "You see, really and truly apart from the things anyone can pick up, things like dressing in the right fashions and the proper way of speaking and so on, the difference between a lady and a flower girl is not in how she behaves, but in how she is treated." shall always be a flower girl to Professor Higgins, because he always treats me as a flower girl and always will. But I know I can be a lady to you, because you always treat me as a lady, and you always will. Notice how Jesus treated people. Whether it be a woman on the street or a tax collector in a tree, he saw something no one else could see. He saw potential. He could see a life that could be changed. He could see a vessel to use in the kingdom. And that is the first thing we need to be able to see as disciples in the world. That's the first thing we need to see in the stranger, in the places we work and play, in the systems that govern our lives and the lives of those we share our communities with. Jesus was more eager to see Zacchaeus and everything Zacchaeus could do than Zacchaeus ever was in seeing him. The Son of Man came into the world to seek and save the lost, to free us from our untangle us from our tangled lives and to free us. And God sees within each one of us, and within God's good creation, more than we can see or ask or imagine. And so God sent his Son, so that in Jesus we could see hope. And that is why any encounter with Christ, the believer will seek to correct the problems in his or her own life, not out of duty, but out of joy, out of determination to resolve the difference between Jesus' life and our lives. I don't remember much of that hockey game many years ago, but I do remember that when I opened my eyes, I was surrounded by my teammates, my coaches, and a guy in a black and white striped shirt, who knelt down to me and put his arm on my shoulder and said, "You're okay, kid. Let's get you out of this mess." When you come to the table in a few minutes, my friends, come knowing that you are seen by God, called by God, wanted here by God. Accept God's invitation to share a moment together with his Son in bread and in wine, so that you may have your eyes open to see the ones who so desperately want to see God, who so desperately want their lives untangled.